At the age of 65, John decided to take a leap of faith and meet someone new, hoping to find companionship as he entered the next chapter of his life. After retiring 5 years ago from a long career as a high school math teacher, he found peace in his quiet two-bedroom condo in sunny Florida. His only daughter, Sarah, lived far away in New York, and his wife had passed away 3 years ago, leaving him with a sense of loneliness. Though he filled his days with gardening, reading, and volunteering at a local library, something was still missing. John longed for someone to share his life with, not necessarily marriage, but simply someone to create new memories with. His neighbor, Emily, suggested that he meet Alice, a retired nurse who was also looking for companionship. After a brief conversation, they agreed to meet for coffee. Nervous but hopeful, John prepared for their meeting, choosing his best white shirt and blazer. He arrived early at the cafe, eager yet apprehensive. Little did he know, this meeting would take a surprising and unexpected turn that would challenge his beliefs about relationships. John's first meeting with Alice went smoothly, with their conversation flowing easily at the cafe. Alice, a retired nurse, arrived on time, looking elegant in a light blue blouse and earrings, with a warm smile that instantly put John at ease. They exchanged pleasantries before settling into the conversation, where Alice shared stories about her nursing career, her recent retirement, and her son who had moved to Chicago for work. In return, John spoke about his teaching career, his daughter Sarah in New York, and his passion for gardening. The conversation was pleasant and full of shared experiences, from their appreciation for quiet moments to adjusting to life after decades of structured work. For a while, it felt like a natural connection, with John beginning to relax and feel at ease. However, as the conversation progressed, Alice's tone shifted. She leaned forward, softening her expression, but her words became more serious as she explained that she had a few specific expectations for a relationship. John was initially open to hearing Alice's thoughts, thinking it was just an honest conversation about compatibility. But when Alice revealed her first condition, John's feelings began to change. What had started as an easy exchange began to feel more like a negotiation, and John started questioning the direction of the conversation. As Alice continued, John's discomfort began to grow. Her first condition was that they should live together for 6 months before making any further decisions about their relationship. John found this suggestion unconventional but not unreasonable at first. He understood the value of spending time together to assess compatibility before committing fully, especially at their stage in life. However, things took a surprising turn when Alice mentioned the second part of her proposal. She told John that to move forward with this trial period, she expected him to deposit $20,000 into a joint account. Alice explained that the deposit would serve as a commitment to the relationship, a way to prove that he was serious. If the trial didn't work out, she promised to return a portion of the money, prorated for the time they had lived together. John's mind raced as he listened to her, a wave of emotions flooding over him. It wasn't the money itself that bothered him. It was the principle of the request. The idea that sincerity and commitment could be measured by a financial transaction felt transactional and cold. He tried to maintain a neutral face as his mind processed the information. John couldn't help but wonder if Alice was simply protecting herself financially, perhaps due to past experiences. Maybe she had been hurt before and wanted security. Yet, no matter how he rationalized it, something didn't sit right. Relationships, particularly at their age, should be about trust, mutual respect, and understanding, not financial commitments. To John, this request turned the natural process of getting to know each other into something more like a business arrangement. He struggled to process Alice's reasoning. Perhaps it came from a place of caution, a desire to protect herself from future hurt. But the way she framed it made him feel uneasy. He wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, but her approach made it feel like her vision of a relationship was built more on financial security than emotional connection. As Alice continued to explain her reasoning, John found himself sinking deeper into discomfort. Her next condition was even more bewildering. She told John that she had always dreamed of visiting Hawaii, a place she associated with beauty, tranquility, and romance. She spoke with great enthusiasm about this dream trip, describing sunset walks on the beach, helicopter tours over volcanoes, and professional photo shoots to capture the special moments of their adventure. At first, John could appreciate the sentiment. After all, a trip to Hawaii was indeed a lovely idea, and it was clear that it meant a lot to Alice.
But as Alice went on, John began to feel uneasy. The trip wasn't just about the destination or the experiences. It was about what Alice expected from him. She said that she wanted John to pay for the entire trip, flights, accommodations, everything. In her view, this would be the way to ensure that she could take care of all the planning, relieving him of any stress. Alice promised that she would handle every detail, from booking the flights to organising the accommodations. All John would need to do, she said, was relax and enjoy the trip. As the conversation progressed, John's discomfort grew even more. Alice's third condition, related to finances, left him feeling shocked and unsettled. She explained that if they decided to get married after their 6-month trial period, she would expect complete control over their household finances. John was taken aback. Alice, a retired nurse, argued that she had the organisational skills and discipline to manage their finances more effectively. She assured him that she would allocate him a small allowance for personal expenses while using the rest of the money for shared needs and future planning. John couldn't believe what he was hearing. The thought of giving up control over his hard-earned retirement income was not only unreasonable, but also deeply uncomfortable. The idea of handing over complete financial control to someone he had just met felt both unsettling and infantilizing. John had worked hard for his savings, and the idea of surrendering that autonomy made him feel powerless and diminished. He had always believed that marriage or cohabitation should be based on partnership, where both individuals contributed equally and had shared decision-making power. But Alice's approach seemed to strip away any sense of equality and mutual respect. John understood that managing finances was important, but the way Alice framed it made him feel like a child, having to ask for permission to spend his own money. It felt controlling and demeaning. By this point, John realised that Alice's vision for a relationship was not aligned with his own. What had initially seemed like a promising connection now felt more like an arrangement based on control and financial security, rather than emotional trust and shared values. John, still trying to keep his calm, smiled politely, but was increasingly troubled by the mounting expectations. A month-long getaway to Hawaii was not a small expense, and covering all costs for such a luxurious experience felt extravagant, especially when their relationship was still in its very early stages. The more he thought about it, the more out of place the request felt. Relationships, particularly those later in life, should be built on shared values and a mutual sense of understanding, not on extravagant gestures that put financial pressure on one party. The idea of spending so much money so early in their relationship, especially when they hadn't even spent a full afternoon together, was overwhelming. John couldn't help but question the practicality of such a grand gesture at this point. Why, he wondered, did Alice feel that such an extravagant trip was necessary to confirm their connection? The idea of a professional photo shoot to document their time in Hawaii struck him as premature too. They hadn't even shared a full day together, yet Alice was envisioning them posing in matching Hawaiian outfits for a photo album. To John, it felt like Alice was more focused on creating a perfect, Instagram-worthy memory than actually getting to know him. While he understood that Alice might see this as a special opportunity, John couldn't shake the feeling that it was too much, too soon. It wasn't just about the money, it was about the pressure to prove himself, to live up to expectations that felt too grand for a relationship that hadn't even started yet. Relationships should evolve naturally, one step at a time, not be rushed into by imposing significant financial burdens on one person. At this point, John found himself struggling to reconcile his growing discomfort with his desire to remain polite and avoid confrontation. He tried to understand where Alice was coming from, but the more she spoke, the more he realised that her vision of a relationship was vastly different from his own. Alice seemed to view the relationship as a series of grand gestures.
Have you ever felt
plans, while John valued simplicity, trust, and genuine connection. As the conversation continued, John could see how Alice's expectations were becoming more demanding and less in line with what he had hoped for in a companion. He had envisioned companionship built on mutual respect and shared experiences, not on elaborate vacations or proving one's worth through expensive gifts and gestures. The contrast between their desires was becoming clearer with every word Alice spoke, and John began to realize that this wasn't the kind of relationship he wanted. As the conversation progressed, John's discomfort grew even more. Alice's third condition, related to finances, left him feeling shocked and unsettled. She explained that if they decided to get married after their 6-month trial period, she would expect complete control over their household finances. John was taken aback. Alice, a retired nurse, argued that she had the organisational skills and discipline to manage their finances more effectively. She assured him that she would allocate him a small allowance for personal expenses while using the rest of the money for shared needs and future planning. John couldn't believe what he was hearing. The thought of giving up control over his hard-earned retirement income was not only unreasonable, but also deeply uncomfortable. The idea of handing over complete financial control to someone he had just met felt both unsettling and infantilizing. John had worked hard for his savings, and the idea of surrendering that autonomy made him feel powerless and diminished. He had always believed that marriage or cohabitation should be based on partnership, where both individuals contributed equally and had shared decision-making power. But Alice's approach seemed to strip away any sense of equality and mutual respect. John understood that managing finances was important, but the way Alice framed it made him feel like a child, having to ask for permission to spend his own money. It felt controlling and demeaning. By this point, John realised that Alice's vision for a relationship was not aligned with his own. What had initially seemed like a promising connection now felt more like an arrangement based on control and financial security, rather than emotional trust and shared values.